Alright, so reflection, that's when you flip a geometric figure over a specified axis. The figure will either be reflected across the x-axis or the y-axis. Reflections are mirror images of each other. Alright, so to reflect a figure, a couple different ways you can do this. You can count how many units each point is away from the axis of symmetry, so either the x or y axis, and then make a new point an equal distance on the opposite side of the axis. Repeat the process for each point on the figure. Alright, so we have this quadrilateral ABCD. A's ordered pair is -1, -1. B is -2, -3. C is -1, -5. And D is -3, -3. So we're going to start by reflecting that across the x-axis. So here's the x-axis. That means that that shape is going to be in quadrant 2. Alright, so A prime is going to be 1 unit away from the axis of symmetry, because the original A was 1 unit down. We'll call that A prime. B prime is 1, 2, 3 units away. So we're going to stay at -2, except this time go up. So -2, 3 is where B prime will be. C prime is down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This time we'll go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's at -1, +5. Okay, D prime will stay at -3, and we're going to go up 1, 2, 3. So it'll be at -3, 3. And we connect the points. Okay, so A prime is at -1, 1. B prime is -2, 3. C prime is -1, 5. And D prime is -3, 3. Alright, so for y-axis, this time we'll flip across the y. Alright, so if we look, A is 1 unit away from the y-axis, so A prime will also be 1 unit away from the y-axis. We'll call this A prime prime. So that's at 1, -1. Okay, so B is 1, 2 units away. So it'll be 2 units away on the other side. So at 2, -3. C will be 1 unit over. The y value will be -5. Be sure, again, notice how I'm always labeling my primes and points. If you don't do that, you'll lose a point on the test. Alright, so D will be 1, 2, 3 units away from the y-axis, and we're down at -3. So come up with a 3, -3, and connect your points. And so we've now reflected that across the y-axis too. So C prime prime should be at 1, -5. I think I need to adjust that point just a little bit down here. There we go. Sorry about that. And D prime prime is at 3, -3. Take a second and see if you can come up with a rule or a pattern as to what's happening with these reflections. What I mean by that is notice with the x and y axis reflections, the order pair stays the same, but what's changing from the original? Okay, so I made a note down here. For the x-axis, it's kind of opposite what you would expect. We notice that we changed the sign of the y value. So -1 changed to 1, -3 changed to 3, -5 changed to +5, -3 changed to +3. So we changed the sign. The numbers stay in the same order. For the y-axis, your x values are changing signs. Alright, let's try these examples. So in the first one, we are reflecting across the x-axis. I want us to count and see how many blocks each point is away from the x-axis. Alright, so A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means that A prime will also be 5 units away. Okay, B is also 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. C and D are both 2. So B and B prime are 5. C and C prime and D prime are both 2. Alright, so A's order pair is 3, 5. So if we flip that across the x-axis, we're going to end up down here in quadrant 4. So remember, we kind of do the opposite of what you would expect. We'll keep the order pair the same, except we'll make it 3, -5. But again, you can also just count your squares, and from A's at 3, come down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 3, -5 is A prime. Okay, so B is 8, 5. So if we reflect across the x-axis, quadrant 4, so positive x values, negative y's. So 8, -5. It's B prime. C is 4, 2. So C prime would be 4, -2. And D is 7, 2. So D prime would be 7, -2. But again, you can just count your squares if you need to. C and D are 2 units away from the x-axis, so C prime and D prime would also be. Alright, so the next example, we reflect across the y. So that means we're going to end up in quadrant 2. So you take this image, come over here. Okay, so A is 1, 2, 3 units away from the y-axis. So that means A prime also needs to be 3. B is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units from the y-axis. So B prime will also be 8 units away. C is 4 units. So C prime will also be 4. And D is 7. Okay, the order pair for A is 3, 5. So we'll change the sign of 3, make it negative 3, 5 for A prime. Okay, so B is 8, 5. So quadrant 2, we have positive x values. I'm sorry, negative x values, positive y. So we're negative 8, 5 for B prime. C would be 4, 2. So C prime is negative 4, 2. D is 7, 2. So D prime is negative 7, 2. So now we've reflected that shape across the x and the y axis.